welcome to Noonzzz. Here, sleep doesn't come from silence, but from a gentle story. You don't have to fall asleep just yet. Just stay a little longer. Everything will feel lighter soon. Welcome, friend. You're here to rest. If you're already tucked in, let the blankets feel a little heavier around your shoulders. If you're still settling, find a position that's easy and kind to your body. Place your breath can move like a tide. Take a gentle inhale through the nose and a long, easy exhale through the mouth. Again inhale, letting the breath glide in, and exhale, letting it fall away. Notice how your body rises and settles as the breath moves. The chest lifts, the belly softens, and the mattress greets you every time you breathe out. Like waves smoothing sand, each breath polishes the edges of today and carries them far from shore. If it helps, imagine a shoreline at dusk, cool air, warm light, the sea, patient and steady. With every inhale, a little crest rolls forward. With every exhale, the water thins and slips back into the blue. We'll keep breathing at that unhurried rhythm together. And when you're ready, I'll share a quiet tale, one about the sea, a very old turtle, unlikely friends, and the making of an island. Tonight's story begins far from any port, in the wide open Pacific, where the water is the color of sleep and the sky leans close, enough to touch. Long ago, before many maps had names, there lived a sea turtle older than any starfish could remember. She was larger than any turtle living. Now yet the sea held her as lightly as a leaf. Sun painted her shell a mottled green, mottled like a hill after rain. Each flipper was long and strong, able to carry her farther in a single stroke than most creatures could travel in a day. She loved the world the way sailors love dawn, from the chill, bright waters near ice and polar bears to the glassy warmth near reefs and lagoons. She swam. She visited coasts that would one day be called by many names. She watched penguins bob like little buoys and seals clap at waves as if they were shows. She slipped beneath fishing birds to listen to their wings rattle the air. Of all the waters that cradled her, the Pacific felt like home. On sunny afternoons, she floated at the surface, soaking the light into her shell. To the birds high above, she looked like a wandering island, quiet, certain, making its own path. At night, she drifted slowly and watched the stars. The sky was never quite the same from one evening to the next. Some nights it was a quilt stitched with 1,000 tiny fires. Other nights it was a dark bowl with one bright drop. The turtle often wondered what it might be like to stay in one place long enough to know the sky by heart, where the moon would rise, where a familiar curve of stars would slip behind a familiar mountain. She had no mountain, only tide. One evening, in the timeless hush that exists just before dawn, a streak of light crossed the sky so quickly it seemed to have dreamed itself. The turtle thought of flying fish, how they flashed and fell, and she smiled in the way that turtles do, small, content, steady. She kept swimming, far and further, until one day the scent of smoke rode the breeze. On a beach of pale sand, a woman was building a small fire with careful hands. The turtle raised her head and asked, in the language of patient creatures, "For whom do you light the flame?" "For my husband," said the woman, shielding the sparks. "He swam out long ago to seek a special place for us. He told me he would return when he found it. I light a fire each night so he can see the shore and know I am waiting." The turtle listened to the wind and to the woman's voice, which carried both hope and the low ache of days. "Your light travels farther than you think," the turtle said. "The sea knows how to deliver messages." She wished the woman well and slipped back beneath the surface. The fire's glow dwindled to a warm coin on the horizon, and then to a memory. Weeks passed. The turtle crossed open water where the sun drew paths of gold, and the clouds built temporary islands. One morning, a weight like a raindrop touched her shell, the lightest landing. A blue parrot, bright as a scrap of sky, rested there. "May I ride with you?" asked the parrot. "I've flown many miles, and your shell looks like a small, friendly world." "You are welcome," said the turtle, and they traveled together. The parrot spoke quickly, as parrots do, words like beads on a string. She told of a rainbow that had arched so wide it felt like a bridge between mornings. And she told of a place beneath the waves where color never slept, a garden of living stone and swaying forests. A triangle of reefs that reached from one far coast to another. A coral kingdom, the parrot chirped, eyes bright. "There are so many creatures, there's so many shapes and hues that I could not learn all their names in 100 seasons." The turtle had never heard of this triangle of coral, but her heart stirred like tide before the moon. "Show me where to begin," she asked. They journeyed until the coast of a vast continent rose ahead, a place of red earth and long beaches where kangaroos hopped along the edge of surf. The turtle called up to a mother kangaroo with two joeys peeking from the safety of her shadow. "I am searching for the garden of coral," said the turtle. "Where does one enter such a place?" The mother kangaroo pointed with a small nod of her head, the way those who live close to land and sea often gesture. "Follow the coast north," she said. "When the blue deepens and the light spills down like coins, look below. You'll see colors gathering as if the sea is painting itself." The turtle thanked her and glided on. Soon the water grew warm as a friendly bath. Sunbeams threaded down through waves and drew a mesh of dancing light on the turtle's shell. She sank gently, a leaf returning to earth, and the world brightened. Yellows blossomed, blues deepened to storybook pages, purples and reds unfurled like scarves. There were anemones opening like soft hands and sponges patterned as if stitched by moonlight. A school of fish turned as one body and became a mirror, then broke apart into sparks. A black-tipped shark slipped between stones as easily as thought. A squid rose from behind a rock and, delighted by its own company, shimmered green, blue, yellow, green, blue, yellow, then vanished in a clever blur. The turtle felt the joy that comes when a traveler finds a place that answers a question they didn't know they were asking. She swam for hours. When at last evening arrived, she returned to the surface and slept beneath a sky that seemed brighter because she had seen such brightness below. The next day, the parrot found her again, and the turtle told her everything: the red fish-like embers, the cities of coral, the living lacework of the reef. The parrot laughed and spun in the air, so pleased to have brought a friend to a treasure she loved. From then on, the turtle visited the coral garden often. It became a chorus she longed to hear, a poem she wanted to memorize. One afternoon, as the turtle explored a new corner of the reef where the seafloor opened into a plain of stones, she noticed a little mound that didn't look like the others. It was a bundled, colorful cluster, like a shell bouquet. As the turtle drifted closer, the mound trembled, then loosened. Shells slid off one by one, and from the middle peeked a small, red octopus. He lifted a cautious arm and placed the tip of it gently against the turtle's beak. She leaned in with the care of someone touching a newborn's hand. In that soft greeting, the two became friends, one very large, one small, one who wandered, one who knew this corner of the world like the wrinkles in the seabed. They met often. The turtle spoke of coasts and harbors, of penguins and seals, of bears who napped on ice, and birds who stitched the sky. The octopus spoke of quiet creatures who lived under rocks, blue and pink starfish that hid just beneath the sand, clams who closed their shells with the primness of a bow. The octopus mentioned a being he had seen only rarely and always at a distance, a shape that moved differently than fish or rays. A unique creature, he said, not quite of the sea and not quite of the land. Will you show me? Asked the turtle, curiosity lifting her like current. They swam beyond the busy gardens, past fans and feathers of coral, into a region that looked like the sea when it is thinking still or darker, spare. There an opening yawned in the rock, a cave shaped like a closed eyelid. The turtle, large as she was, could not enter. I'll go, said the octopus. Wait for me here. The turtle waited, the minutes stretching out like long ropes. She listened to the silt sigh. She counted stones of every size, each one a small story. When the octopus returned, he was not alone. By his side floated the unique creature, and the turtle understood at once. The visitor was a man. He sat in the water as if he belonged there, yet the sea behaved as if it were borrowing him. His hair moved with the smallest currents. His eyes, when he lifted them, held the shade of driftwood and distant afternoons. I lived on land, the man said, voice a little surprised to hear itself. I swam out one day. The sun felt kind and the nights were a velvet blanket stitched with stars. I kept swimming days, weeks. When I grew tired, I found a cave to rest in. I slept. When I woke, the sea had become my home, and the past had tucked itself away somewhere I could not reach. He smiled in a way that wasn't sad, only quiet. The turtle told him about the world above, hills rolling like whales turned to earth, forests that sound like rain even when it's not raining, shorebirds who write their names in sand with tiny feet. The man closed his eyes to listen. He remembered a little the way grass whispers, the way a breeze parts leaves like a hand parting hair. For several days they met among the stones near the cave. The octopus told about the reef's secret neighborhoods. The man, reaching into the half-remembered pockets of his mind, shared fragments of his earlier life, sitting on a beach with someone whose laughter sounded like shells clicking together, promising to find a special place, lighting fires at dusk. The turtle listened and felt something stir the old wish she'd carried without a name, to feel land under her weight, to watch the same stars from the same place, to let her shell warm on sand and know that tomorrow night the sky would repeat itself like a lullaby. What if we built a resting place? Asked the octopus, tentacles unfurling with excitement. He gestured around them at the scattered stones. We have what we need. Stone, sand, patience. We could lift a new thing from the seafloor to the light. The man looked at his hands, which the sea had softened but not erased. We could try, he said. I know the best stones. I can carry sand and shape it. You, friend turtle, can move what is heavy. And you, friend octopus, can sweep and smooth, tuck everything into the right place. The turtle felt a calm joy like hearing your name spoken by someone who knows you. Let's begin, she said. Work, when it is shared, creates its own weather. They labored without hurry, without the pressing clock of a ship's bell or the rush of a market morning. The man led them to stones that would stack well, flat ones to lay like pages, rounder ones to wedge as commas between lines. The octopus brushed away silt, tidied edges, and braided pockets of sand with careful care. The turtle scooped and lifted and set, her great flippers behaving not as paddles but as cranes. They worked through a cycle of moons. Tides came and went, curious but accommodating. Fish paused to watch, then continued their errands. The reef, always busy with the business of thriving, sent tiny ambassadors crabs with sideways walks, snails wearing spiral houses to inspect the construction. When they grew tired, they rested. When they grew hungry, they ate. When they needed encouragement, they looked up. Even from the seafloor, you can hear the sky if you know how to listen. One morning, after many days, the turtle carried a stone larger than any they had moved before. She placed it high upon the mound they were shaping. The man climbed carefully, hand over hand, and felt the slope tip him into air. He broke the surface with a sound that was half laugh, half gasp, half gasped. He stood. Water streamed from his hair and shoulders. He inhaled more than breath, a remembering. The sun rested its palm on his skin. He closed his eyes and smiled in the wide, unguarded way of someone who had just retrieved his name from a pocket he thought was empty. The turtle surfaced beside him. The octopus perched cheerfully on her head like a bright hat. They grinned at one another in the language of friends who have done something improbable and good. They kept building. The mound rose and widened until it became an island, ringed with beaches that curled like commas around a sentence, lifted with a spine of mountains that ran nearly end to end. From above, from the path of passing birds, it looked like a sleeping creature shell of stone. Breath of trees yet to be. The turtle, heart full, pulled herself up onto the new shore. Sand cupped the weight of her for the first time in all her long life. She exhaled and felt the ground answer. She was, at last, still. News travels oddly at sea by current, by wind, by rumor in the water itself. The blue parrot appeared one bright day, a ribbon of color against the sky. She circled and settled on a branch of driftwood the waves had offered. "You've made a place," the parrot said, delighted. "But it looks thirsty. It needs green. It needs shade that rustles and flowers that surprise you by being exactly the shade of morning." The man laughed. The turtle blinked, a slow, satisfied blink. The octopus waved an arm. The parrot tilted her head. "I can help," she said. "I can fly to far coasts and return with pockets full of beginnings." "Seeds," the man whispered. And in that word something bright unfolded in his mind, a path beneath trees. The smell of earth after rain, someone's hand in his. The parrot flew away and came back and flew away again. Each time she returned, she spilled little gifts onto the sandgrasses that would knit soil, flowers that would teach bees a new song, trees that would grow up into speech and shade. The man tucked the seeds into the island's open palms. The turtle used her flippers to pat the earth gently, as if tucking a child into bed. The octopus kept the nearshore clear and coaxed the coral to stretch its gardens toward the island's shallow skirts. Time moved in rings like tree growth. Shoots became saplings. Saplings became trees. Grass stitched the dunes. Flowers learned the schedule of sun and opened accordingly. The island, once the color of stone and sand, began to wear green the way a singer wears a favorite note at night. The turtle lay on the beach and watched the same stars from the same place. She learned where particular constellations would rise, where they would tip and drift away. She felt the universe repeat itself kindly. One clear evening, when the moon floated like a lantern and the tide murmured its old stories, the man sat beside the turtle and watched the sky forget its last orange. He spoke quietly, as if not to wake a sleeping child. "I remember," he said, and his voice made a path through the dark. "I remember a shore. I remember a woman who built a small fire every evening. I told her I would swim to find a special place for us. I told her I would return." The turtle's heart stirred like a tide turning. She recalled the woman and her careful hands, the way smoke had braided itself with hope. "I know where to look," the turtle said. "If you climb onto my shell, we can ride the moon's road together." The octopus rose from the near water, and the parrot fluttered down from a tree. "Will you come back?" they asked, though they already knew the answer. A home made together asks for return. It does not demand it. "Yes," said the man, "with someone I love." The turtle slipped into the sea. The man climbed on. They traveled at night, when the world is gentler, and the miles are like breaths, one following the other, steady and sure. When dawn unrolled a pale gold ribbon along the horizon, they reached a coast the turtle knew. There on the beach sat a woman with a small fire that had burned through the night. The flames were now only embers, stubborn and faithful. She lifted her head as if she had heard her name from far away. The man slid from the turtle's back and ran through shallow surf. The woman stood. "There are words for reunions, and there are better things than words." Their arms found the shapes they had kept in memory. The sea was happy. The sky was very large. That very day, the turtle carried them both across the wide water. They arrived at the island as afternoon tilted toward evening. The parrots sang a bright greeting. The octopus waved like a flag in a friendly wind. The couple stepped onto the sand together and felt it carry them. Home is not always where you began. Sometimes it is where your promise leads you. They explored the island, its beach bright edges, its hill-soft middle, its river that had learned to talk to stones. They climbed partway up the mountain ridge and saw, spread before them, an arc of rainbow balanced over the highest peak, as if the sky were blessing the ground. On clear days afterward, they would point and say, "There," though the rainbow came and went on its own timetable. The man rebuilt a small fire on the new shore, just because joy likes symbols. The woman laughed and fed it twigs. Smoke curled up and joined the evening air. The turtle rested, the octopus tidied the near water, and the parrot narrated everything, cheerfully to anyone with ears. Night folded over them like a warm blanket. Stars appeared familiar now to the turtle land. The moon pinned a soft coin of light to the island's palm. The couple lay back on the sand and listened to waves. The turtle, just beyond the tide line, matched her breath to the water's rhythm. The octopus watched the coral glow with its secret nightlife. The parrot tucked her head beneath one blue wing dot. In the days that followed, the island grew into itself. Roots went deeper. Birds found perches and gave them names in song. The reef flourished near the island's feet, a necklace of living color. And each evening, the couple walked the shore hand in hand, while the turtle traced the edge of water, a guardian that needed no ceremony to be wise. When storms came, as storms always do, the island learned how to bend and not break. Trees let the wind comb them. Waves spoke a little louder. The turtle anchored herself in the shallows and felt the sea's strong pulse without fear. After, the world rinsed itself tidy, and everything smelled like a promise renewed. If you visit that part of the world and float quietly in warm water where the reef is near, you may feel a hush that doesn't quite belong to this minute. The island is their mountains turned toward the sky, beaches cupping the tide, forests describing shade. The rainbow might appear if the light is feeling generous, and if you watch long enough at dusk, you might spot a turtle's head rising just beyond the last curl of wave. She has grown older still, which is to say, she is very wise. Some nights, she swims far and returns by morning. Most nights, she drifts along the familiar shore and feels the deep comfort of repetition. The way certain stars lift, the way certain waves fold. The man and the woman live on the land they all made together. Sometimes they light a small fire, not as a beacon now, but as a thank you. The smoke rises and the night understands. The octopus continues his work with modest pride, directing the coral's quiet expansion. The parrot still carries news in bright loops above the trees and occasionally lands on the turtle's shell, just to remember the first time she mistook a friend for a moving island. As for the island itself, it holds all these stories, the way good ground holds rain briefly at the surface, deeply beneath. Take a breath in and out. Feel the mattress support you like the shore ground of that island. Let your thoughts drift like birds, circling lazily over warm water. If sleep hasn't already gathered you in, it's coming on a gentle tide. You don't need to do anything, only breathe and be carried. We'll leave you with the hush of waves and the soft shine of stars above a green, patient island. You are safe. You are warm. The night is kind. Good night.